an incredible time at this football club for one of its most important signings.
I think he's the best right back I've ever seen play for Newcastle.
Kieran Trippier decides, having just won La Liga, and was playing in the Champions League, to go, no, do you know what? I'm going to get involved in a relegation battle.
That made the outside world take us a bit more seriously.
This squad is unfortunately at the end of its cycle.
They need a response off the back of that dreadful derby.
If it is just the same that we've seen, then you're going to get a lot of question marks from fans.
He's fighting for his career, you know?
Yeah,
he's fighting for his career. What are we doing here?
Kenton, who would you like to stay more, Baltimore or Eddie Howe? Just wondering.
Baltimore.
Whatever the decision is for the manager, whatever, get Waldemar at work. He's too good not to use properly.
Talked about on this show before, sometimes I think can say a lot and we're kind of waiting for him to back it up. That's a deal signed off and I'm sure he's working on other ones.
Thank you, Hopkinson, for watching Inside the Toon.
Hello and welcome to Inside the Toon, your show dedicated to all things Newcastle United. This show is sponsored by BetMGM. Download the app or visit betmgm.co.uk, 18+, gambleaware.org. Please gamble responsibly. I'm your host, Ollie Klink. Joining me on the panel this week is journalist and Newcastle fan Jack Cunningham, and from Roots TV, Newcastle fan Clinton Ford. Gents, it's been quite nice not to watch Newcastle United play football for a couple of weeks.
Hey, we didn't lose.
In the international break. I felt quite calm, which has been a bit different. Look, we're going to look ahead to the game against Palace, which is coming up this weekend. Feels like a big game to me. Before that, there was some news earlier this week that Kieran Trippier, club legend, let's be honest, is going to be leaving at the end of the season. I mean, Jack, just before we get into, whether it's the right time for him to move on, etc., you've got to reflect on what has been an incredible time at this football club for one of its most important signings.
I think he's the best right back I've ever seen play for Newcastle, and I'm pretty sure most people who go back, you maybe have to go back to the 70s for other players to even probably...
We need Sean in.
We need Sean in for actually that one, to be honest, because I think that in terms of all facets of the game, sort of had it all, had it all. And if you think about when he first comes in and he makes that first leap of being the first man under the takeover to take that risk, Newcastle were in the relegation battle looking really, really bad. And he takes that leap, he scores 2 massive goals that actually proved vital to get huge wins. And he actually got injured then, didn't he? And didn't play much of the rest of the season. But the season after, when Newcastle get back into the Champions League, wow. Genuinely incredible performances the whole season. Proper leader as well. He got the standards up amongst the club as well. He wouldn't accept people not being at the level. He appreciated what it was to play for Newcastle. He understood how big the club is and how special it is as well. And you could tell that from his interview and how emotional he was around it as well. And I think we've got to thank him and reflect on him. And he'll get an absolutely incredible send-off at the end of the season. And he deserves it because he is a legend. He is a Newcastle legend.
Yeah, 12 million.
I know.
It's incredible. And actually, I think Jack makes such a good point. You have to cast your mind back to that moment where Newcastle was still in the relegation zone. And Kieran Trippier decides, having just won La Liga, and was playing in the Champions League, to go, no, do you know what? I'm going to get involved in a relegation battle. There's no guarantee at this stage that I'll be playing in the Premier League next season. And it was that first domino, wasn't it, really? It was that signing that I think made us all sit up as fans and go, wow, this guy wants to play for our football club. We are going places now.
And I feel like that made the outside world take us a bit more seriously. The fact that we have someone like Kieran Trippier, like you said, who's just won a title with Atletico Madrid, come to little old Newcastle. And off the back of that, look how we went on from there. 2 Champions League qualifications, Carabao Cup, and some of the memories that he's made over that period of time. What a player, what a phenomenal player.
Do you know what, it's amazing to think, Jack, his debut was Cambridge.
Yes.
And they lost.
And we lost.
And can you just imagine what he was thinking? It was quite funny, even in the video that the club put out, and they were kind of asking him about his favourite moments, and it's the first thing he said was just, well, not my first game, Cambridge United. But he must have at least had a small part of him when Newcastle were losing at home to Cambridge in the FA Cup. Obviously, they had bigger fish to fry, but you can't be doing that.
No.
And he must have had a small part of him going, what have I done here? But his performances, and I think you're also right to point out his leadership, have been vital, not just for that moment and getting Newcastle out of trouble, but for the success that's come since then.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's one of Eddie Howe's lieutenants, isn't he? And he's a player who Howe has relied on in numerous occasions, and also like on the field and off the field as well. And you can always tell what's going on. He's always dictating things on the pitch as well. No matter what the score is or whatever, he tries to keep the lads calm. He tries to keep them composed. He's always one of the people speaking in the team huddle as well. And I feel like he has been a vital part of what has been the most successful period of Newcastle's history for a long, long time. And he will be remembered, rightfully so, as a huge part of that. And let's see where he goes on. And he wants to carry on playing football, I know that, because he spoke about that. I don't know if he'll end up in the Premier League, I don't know if he'll end up in the Championship, but either way, I wish him genuinely the best of luck, because he's been brilliant for us.
Does he go down as one of, if not the most important signing in Newcastle, especially in their recent history, do you think, Clinton?
Yeah, if you're talking about a recent history, he was definitely the catalyst for a lot of the players that signed after him. You know, Bruno Guimaraes, again, had no right to come to us where we're in. But again, if you're seeing Kieran Trippier go there, it makes you think to yourself, hold on, if he can go there, why can't I go there? So he's definitely, and again, it's led to the likes of Alexander Isak and players like that, Sandro Tonali over the years. So again, definitely, we owe him so much, and again, he's definitely repaid us as well.
Yeah, Jack, what's your favourite Kieran Trippier moment?
Yeah, so I'll probably go back to one of his first goal, I believe, which was against Everton, free kick. Newcastle were we'd just had the transfer window finished, we'd got the players all we needed. We played Everton, we beat them 3-1, I think, and Trippier scored an unbelievable free kick at the Gallagher end, like whipped it in the bottom corner, and then he runs off, he jumps into the corner, and it was like such a big, like, okay, he's actually going to deliver for us in these huge games. And then also he scored against Aston Villa as well and broke his foot, I think, in that scoring that goal. Was out for the rest of the season, but I'd go for that Everton. That one.
Yeah, Pickford couldn't quite reach that one.
Pickford couldn't quite reach that one. No, he couldn't. No.
Whoa.
He was struggling. He was struggling to get that one.
No, I actually think that goal, Jack, is almost... When I think of that run to survival, and I say survival, they end up coming 11th.
Comfortable in the end.
You know, it's very comfortable,
Yes.
but that goal is kind of the moment I think of. That, you know, maybe you could pick out the Shelby free kick against Leeds, obviously, because that was a bit of a turning point.
Maybe Bruno's header against Leicester.
Yeah, Bruno's header against Leicester, of course. But I just think there was something quite seismic about that goal and that result. And the fact it was Trippier and was one of those signings that had come in January. What are you going to go for, Clinton?
I'm going to go for glory. In fact, there's two. The glory one is obviously the Man City free kick. I mean...
yeah. I mean,
Sun was out.
Yeah.
What a moment. I mean, it's so weird. We obviously didn't go on to win that game. It was 3-3 in the end. I know. But it's the second time in my life that Kieran Trippier has given me a moment like that. The other one was in the World Cup semi-final. Just get it over the line, Kieran. But no, I mean, I'm fully on board with that one. That was one of the best moments I think I've had in that stadium as well.
Yeah, and then more recently, it's more like the passing of the torch, if you like, you know, passing on the armband to Lewis Miley. That's a beautiful thing, like passing over the captain armband to a young up-and-coming player who's from the area. That just sums up the leadership, as you said.
That was a really nice moment, actually. But going back to Trippier free kick, is that one of the best free kicks I've seen at St James's Park? The only one I think that comes close and maybe slightly better is Kabai's against Manchester United.
Emre, maybe.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. We're talking like, and there's been some good free kicks.
Yeah.
That is up there. That is up there.
Definitely.
It's so good.
Definitely.
It's so good.
Do you know what? I don't want to be too boring, but you guys have picked two brilliant moments, by the way, and they would have been both definitely in my top three Trippier moments. But you can't not mention the League Cup final. It is one of the best individual performances I think I've ever seen from a Newcastle player. He was unbeatable that day, and it was just the level of calm he brought to that whole situation. And it's kind of easy to forget just how good Liverpool were heading into that game. And he put in a performance for the ages to secure a bit of history, really, for Newcastle. And actually, I'm going to tie into that, because I like that you pointed out that he gave the armband to Miley. And I think in a similar vein, him beckoning over Jamal Lascelles to come and lift the trophy as well. I think I just loved that. I absolutely loved that, because the respect he also, when he spoke about Lascelles as well, and the importance of Lascelles as that club captain, despite the fact that Lascelles, wasn't you know, for the most part on the pitch and that presence, and a lot of that was Kieran Trippier's job. I think that the respect he had for the role that Lascelles had as a leader, and to give him that moment as someone who had been with the club through thick and thin, it shows off the kind of bloke he is. And I think you nailed it, Jack, by saying he just gets the club as well. And that was the most important thing, and probably one of the main reasons, along with his ability, that Eddie Howe wanted to bring him in the first place.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. You could tell almost immediately when he joined the praise he had for Newcastle. He was always like, you know, whenever I came here, always loved it. He's obviously a northerner, so I think he did want to come back to the north. And I think you could just tell from, as I said, that first moment, he absolutely got it, and he's never not got it. And obviously, you have the thing where against Bournemouth, where I suppose he has some words with the fans. But I say when he's having those words with the fans, he never was not appreciative of what they've done making that journey down to Bournemouth. He was saying, you know, we're working our hardest, because that was when we had 13 fit players or something. Yeah. And he was like, we're doing our best. We know it's not good enough. We're sorry. The fact he had that, even just like respect for the supporters to go and do that, I think shows what a kind of leader and a bloke that he's been for Newcastle. And as I say, he will go down as an absolute legend.
I think as well, I think he's helped raise the standards a hell of a lot. I think before he got there, it was almost kind of looked upon as like, oh, look at this little project from the Saudis, and you know, let's see if it works out and all the rest of it now. But he's just brought us on leaps and bounds in terms of like professionalism on the pitch, off the pitch, you know, grinding out results, and that's what I really miss, or going to miss about him, in terms of just, you know, getting the standards to a high level, which makes us compete with the likes of Man Cities and all these other teams as well.
If we're looking at the wider picture, Jack, it does feel like the right time as well, doesn't it, for this to happen? And actually, you know, it is indicative that there could be quite a big squad refresh this summer too. But like I say, you know, as much as he's been a brilliant servant to the club, it's time to move on now.
You know, I can't sit here and say that I haven't been saying it for a while, have I? To be fair, like I have been saying that I feel like Trippier's time in the starting 11 is done. It's just simply because, fortunately, his legs aren't there anymore, and he's still got the technique, but it is the right time. It is the right time, and I'm pleased it's been announced now, so we're not at the point where we get to the end of the season, maybe he's had a few more bad performances and everyone's kind of just like, just get out, you know, just go, you'd finish. But it's more in case of now, okay, he can get his send-off. I don't know how many more games he'll actually play, because Livramento is fit now. I think, to be honest, he probably would prefer if Livramento played the majority of the games. But it is important that he's going to get that proper send-off, but it is the right time. And what I do think is interesting is, I don't know if it indicates maybe a subtle power shift, because I assume that Howe would have probably wanted to keep him. Yeah. In some way, like give him a 1-year contract.
Definitely.
And it might also be Trippier's decision as well.
No, Jack, I think you hit the nail on the head on that.
And I think this might be a sign of Ross Wilson, David Hopkinson saying, we're going to be a little bit more ruthless. And I think I've called for it a lot at times. This squad is unfortunately at the end of its cycle. It doesn't mean that we're not appreciative of them. They've been incredible for us. But it's kind of a case of, for a lot of them, it's like, thank you. Might be your time to move on now. And I think Trippier's maybe in that one.
Well, I'll tell you what, Clinton, as well, when you actually look at right back heading into this summer too, with Livramento linked away and the hierarchy talking about the fact that Newcastle need to start being a bit more of a trading club. That moment was always going to come. Obviously, we'd rather keep Livramento, of course we would. But then you've got Emil Kraft as well, who's been injured this season, and again is probably in that bracket of needing to be moved on. But that's 3 right backs that Newcastle could end up leaving this summer.
Yeah, you're right. We might need 3 right backs, so we might have to get our skates on sooner rather than later. Get our football manager scouts out.
Sign us up, Eddie.
Yeah,
do a job.
We're here.
I'll run around.
No, but the time is right, like you said, Jack. The time is right for him to be moved on, and like you said, I do believe that this wasn't an Eddie Howe decision. I feel like this was above his pay grade, if you like, decision with Ross Wilson and David Hopkinson, who are going down a different model, and I like it. We're going down the more of the Brighton, the Bournemouth model, where we're going to be looking abroad, seeing if we can get more bang for our buck, and rather than going to the route that we went down where we first brought Eddie in, and we brought in the likes of Chris Wood and Dan Burns and Kieran Trippier, who served us well, but again, at the same time, they're not going to be here forever. We need players that are going to be of that sort of mid-20s bracket we can bring in, you know, move on when the time is right, and then that's the route that we have to go down, unfortunately.
Jack, did you want to announce your retirement from this show at the end of the season, or are you all right?
I'm leaving.
Oh, okay. No, we'd love you to stay. No, we love you, mate.
I mean, I'm only on my third cap.
Talking to David Hopkinson, by the way, there's been he's been getting busy, really, hasn't he? With the sponsorship of the training ground, which is another thing that Jack's been rabbiting on about since we started the show. But of course, yeah, and he made a good point. And look, it's going to be called the Knox.
Fort Knox?
Yeah, Fort Knox, got to be, isn't it? Yeah, I think all fans are going to be
Welcome to Fort Knox, where we train to eat now.
But the thing is, Fort Knox just sounds like they've got a lot of injuries as well, doesn't it?
Kind of plays on the brand,
Look, it's good news, isn't it? Yeah. Really, Jack. And actually, as much as you were calling for it and other sponsorship deals to come through, not every club has their training ground sponsored. I think if you compare it to some other clubs, they seem to have got a pretty decent deal here. And it just feels to me as if Hopkinson, who, we've talked about on this show before, sometimes I think can say a lot and we're kind of waiting for him to back it up. Well, to be fair, he's probably been working on this since he came through the door, and that's a deal signed off, and I'm sure he's working on other ones. Yeah.
Thank you, Hopkinson, for watching Inside the Toon. I think that it was a thing that we needed to improve. The revenue, and to be fair to him, he did say, this is the thing that is my job, I need to grow it. And then it feels like it had just been a lot of words and we hadn't seen anything. So it was really good to see this deal finally get signed off. And it's $6 million a year, which it doesn't sound like a lot, but actually when you compare it to other training ground sponsors, that's really high. It's only a little bit less than Liverpool's, I believe. So I think that's really good. And what I really liked about it the most was at the end of it, he said, there's more coming. There's more coming. So, and I don't know if he's the type of bloke who just say that and there's no substance to it, or it's actually, I don't know, but I'm more leaning towards he wouldn't say that if he didn't believe that there was some things in the pipeline anyway. And I know obviously maybe you look back at 2030 and stuff and you could say that's maybe, I don't know, like a bit too ambitious, and that maybe is a bit over the top. But I think that when it comes to the actual revenue side of it, I don't think he'd say something that if it didn't have some substantial news happening, I suppose.
It's funny as well, isn't it, Clinton? Because when you look at last summer, we all know it was a complete disaster, especially in the transfer market, and a lot of that was because there weren't people in key positions for one reason or another. Obviously, Darren Eales had his illness, which is very unfortunate. But then Paul Mitchell wasn't in that sporting director role. Does it feel as if Newcastle and that hierarchy are becoming a bit more cohesive? You think about the point that Jack has just made about, that maybe not being an Eddie Howe decision to get rid of Kieran Trippier. Hopkinson's now signing deals. Does it feel like it's moving in the right direction for you now?
Yeah, for me, definitely. I mean, last time I was on here, we was all talking about being ruthless, So again, as much as we love Kieran Trippier, it was right for him to move on. Great. Even us selling our stadium back to ourselves, smart things like that. Now the training ground. Again, 6 million people might say, it's only 6 million. It's 6 million more than we had 2 weeks ago.
Exactly.
You've got to think of it like that. So stuff like that can then go towards transfers. It can go to other things. And I believe him when he says that there's more in the pipeline. Yes. I believe him. And I like it because he's raising the standards, similar to what Kieran Trippier did when he first signed. He's raising the standards and he's raising the profile of the club as well. So again, I like this Dave Hopkinson guy. Hopefully he can get more stuff over the line. It sounds like a new signing now, get it over the line. I like the way we're moving. Again, it shows ambition. We're moving in the right direction, and this is where we need to be heading to.
By the way, make sure you click subscribe and get involved in the comments as well if you want to give us your favourite Kieran Trippier moment or any thoughts you've got on the hierarchy and how they're getting on at the moment. Boys, let's look ahead to Crystal Palace this weekend. It's funny with Palace, isn't it? Because actually, I feel like Newcastle have a good record against Palace, but at St James's Park, I don't think they've won there since COVID.
Joelinton and Wilson.
Joelinton and Wilson, yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's always quite a difficult game, this. It's always kind of 1-0 or 1-1, etc. But, Jack, they need a response off the back of that dreadful derby. And I think especially because all of the fans have had this international break to stew that result over.
Look, I really think this is really important. I feel like I think that the fan base would get extremely annoyed if we turn up, play basically the same 11 that played against Sunderland and just lose. So it's like, what have you been working on in that time that you've had off? Because not all the players have gone on international duty. You know, there's been players to work with. Yes, a lot of them are on international duty as well, but they're back. There's been plenty of time to work with them. We didn't have the FA Cup. So I think this is a really, really important game for Eddie Howe and for how everyone's going to see the rest of the season, because if it is just the same that we've seen, then you're going to get a lot of question marks from fans.
He's fighting for his career, you know?
Yeah,
he's fighting for his career. No, when our friend David Hodgson come out again and said he doesn't know what start to take on him, we'll figure out at the end of the season.
It's an interesting point.
How much did you read into that, Clinton?
A lot. I don't have no stance on my current manager's future. We'll see at the end of the season. Come on, if you don't read between the lines, I don't know what to think.
Do you know what as well? He said I expect good results in this
run. There we go. And like I said, we're raising the stands. He's expecting none of this. We'll see how we get on. No, we can't, because again, a lot of this falls on where we finish at the end of the season. If we don't finish in Europe, bye-bye Tonali, bye-bye Livramento. Some of these deals might not get over the line. So again, a lot rides on this one, not on this one game, but the remaining 7 games of the season.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think also Hopkinson's comments changed a lot from when he was on White and Jordan. You know, White and Jordan, it was very much like Eddie, 100%, he's the man, we're all in on Eddie. And then it has changed. You know, it has changed. You can't, as you say, you got to read between the lines and see that. So I think this is huge match. Yeah. And people, other fans might look at it and think, it's just a mid-table clash. But actually, for Newcastle's rest of the season, and potentially for Eddie Howe's future, and for how the fans are going to see Howe for the rest of the season as well, this is massive. Because as I said, we rock up, poor performance, lose, I'm not sure you're going to get much sympathy because you've had so much time to work with the players.
You mentioned almost the team selection there as well, Jack. And actually, there's so many areas that I'm finding interesting with this. If we start with even the goalkeeper, you know, we know how much faith Eddie Howe has in Nick Pope, Aaron Ramsdale. I don't think he's covered himself in glory in the games that he's been recently featured in. Do you think he might twist back to Nick Pope?
I would hope not. I would hope not. I think Ramsdale's done.
By the way, I don't think Ramsdale's been bad.
No,
I just don't. I'm not confident in either.
He's not done enough to get a new deal.
No,
deal as
no, they're both the same. They're not really at the level, you know, unfortunately. Pope's more of a decline, Ramsdale just maybe not at the level.
But who do you show more faith in? Do you show faith in Pope because his deal's up soon, or would you show faith in Ramsdale who's fighting for a deal?
Well, that's the thing. It's an interesting question, and I feel like if for me it should be Ramsdale because I feel more. I think the back four feel a bit more confident with Ramsdale just because I think that all of the back four, unfortunately, you know, Nick Pope is not the same Nick Pope that we signed. You know, and I think they all know that. You can kind of tell there's a little bit of nervousness. I think they drop a little bit deeper sometimes when Pope's playing as well. Ramsdale can pass the ball out from the back, which has proved important in games. So I'll be starting Ramsdale.
Yeah.
There was also obviously some criticism with that back four that Trippier, club legend, and Byrne started in that game. I'm surely it's Livramento and Chow that will come back in, Clinton.
It makes sense. It makes so much sense. Like the future of Newcastle's back four, if we can keep him, by the way, is Livramento, Chow, Botman, and obviously Lewis Hall as well. If we can keep him, I'm going to keep underlining that because, like I said, this summer is going to be very crucial.
The other position I want to talk about is the position Nick Voltemade. I mean, who knows where he's going to play, really? But look, I think it's so strange, isn't it, with Voltemade? Because he was brilliant at the start. He then drops off in form a bit. And let's be honest, Jack, there would have been a few of these shows where we were saying, drop him back a bit, play him in the number 10 role, play him in the number 10 role.
I've absolutely said that.
And he has played there on a couple of occasions. But actually, Eddie Howe went a bit too far, dropped him back into midfield. Put him back up. But have we almost gone full circle now and want to see him back in that number 9 role? And maybe, you know, that's because of the comments from the German manager Nagelsmann saying,
but Voltemade's biting back as well.
And Voltemade said it.
He's nibbling.
And Voltemade said it himself.
He's having a bit. Because not only his coach is saying something, but he said the same thing. I don't want to be playing 50, 60, 70 metres back away from the goal line. I want to be scoring goals. That's what I should be judged on. You don't spend £70 million on a defensive midfielder. He's not the German N'Golo Kante, is he? Like, we signed him as a striker.
You spend 40, you get Joel Linton.
There you go. And look how much we had to do to get him into the right positions, even get him out of the 9 shirt.
Do you want to see Voltemade in the 9 Jack?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I do. Or as an actual number 10. As an actual, I still believe as an actual number 10 with a proper striker up front. With a proper striker up front, I still believe that is where we'll get the best out of him for the rest of the season. I think going forward, when you've got I know he's got the World Cup, but he'll have a lot of pre-season. Whatever the decision is for the manager, whatever, get Waldemar at work. He's too good not to use properly. That's just my view. I've seen this guy do some ridiculous things with the ball, and I just feel there's such a talent there that is not being unlocked, and it's up to the manager to unlock that talent and not put him in midfield and make him run around and compete for duels and stuff. But actually, in a lot of his performances, I don't think he's been that bad. No. I think there's a lot of times he wins the ball and he keeps possession, which in that position, that's what you ask him to do. And then you complain about not being in the box. You're playing him in midfield. He's also slow. He is also slow. He is slow. But that's why you get players around him, and you can I think you'll start to be able to break down low blocks much better with Waldemar, because he's so intelligent. He'll be able to find the space and the passes. No, that's why I'm with Waldemar.
And actually, Palace under Glasner will want to sit deep and try and hit some counter-attack. So
if we play Gordon up front,
is that going to work?
What are we pressing then? There'll be nothing to press. They won't press. They'll just launch it long.
You need someone like Waldemar who can unlock something there.
Do you want to see him in the 9 though, Clinton, or a bit deeper?
A bit deeper.
A bit deeper. Yeah, we'll have a centre back. Yeah.
Must be playing instead of Ramsdale. Sorry, they can't get much more deeper than that. No, I want to see him up top. And in fact, I was going to add to this as well that excuse me, that I think it's a toss-up between Eddie Howe and Waldemar in terms of who stays for next season. Because, again, you can't be taking shots at your manager like that openly and saying about your positional sense. Fair enough, you can let your national coach say it, but again, if you're going to say it, only one of you is going to survive. That's what I'm saying. So,
who wins that battle?
The £70 million investment, or the under pressure manager who's not getting the backing from the CEO? Yeah, but he's also the manager that's won them a trophy. He's not getting the backing from his CEO, doesn't know about the stance. Come on, you see where I'm going with this? Because I'm just saying, I'm reading between the lines here.
Jack, do you think it's as simple as that? You keep Waldemar?
I don't think it's as simple as that. But I do appreciate Clinton's point, because it has been a problem. You know, it seems like he has no idea how to use him.
Yeah.
And you're employed as the manager of Newcastle United. Or he's employed as the manager of Newcastle United to get the best out of the Newcastle team. And if he can't get the best out of the Newcastle team with Waldemar in it, then that is an issue, because he's gone back to Gordon up front. But equally, he is our record signing. I think you've got to make a proper effort.
Yeah, you've got to persist.
Yeah. It's different to maybe if he'd cost sort of, I don't know, like 10, 15 million or something. It's not working. Okay, fine. It's £69 million. I think you've got to make an effort.
But that's why one of them has to survive. Only one of them. I don't think both of them can coexist. If it still keeps going on like this, I'm sorry, but it is.
It's an interesting point.
Waldemar playing in this national team. He's playing, he's getting links with Bayern Munich. He wants to go back home, or does he want to go back home, or does he want to play in the 9? Like, he just want to give him a fair shot. But if it keeps going on like this, where he's playing central midfield alongside Bruno and then Joe Linton, then what are we doing here?
Clinton, who would you like to stay more, Waldemar or Eddie Howe? I'm just wondering.
Waldemar. I would love it to work under
Eddie Howe.
Yes, ideally. But
do you trust him to do that though?
At the moment, no. Simple and plain. It's not working for whatever reason. He doesn't want to play him there. He trusts Gordon more up top. Obviously, Gordon has put away a few, so I get it. But at the same time, there is a world where Gordon can play further upfield and Waldemar can do as well, because we've seen it. We've seen it for our own eyes. We've seen it when he first joined. So I don't know why we can't get back to that point.
It's time now, though, for our bet builder with BetMGM. Remember, you can download the app or head to betmgm.co.uk. Gents, I'm going to go for my usual Newcastle to win, of course.
It'll happen sometime.
Jack, what are you going for?
I think that, look, our defence is rubbish. But also Palace are just playing in the Conference League. I think they'll be quite tired, to be honest. So I think we'll score. So both teams score.
OK, Clinton?
Ooh, it's going to be a tight game. So I'm going to go with a low-scoring game. But I'm going to go for shots as well. So I'm going to have under 4.5 shots.
For Newcastle?
Yeah.
OK.
Yeah, I know.
Right. They better be clinical.
I know, right? They go to up top.
Yeah. So 4-0 win.
Yeah,
5-0 win, whatever. Great stuff, guys. Just before we go, I do want to just quickly talk about that run-in, because I do think you're both right that these games are hugely important for Eddie Howe. I think the comments from David Hopkinson, like you pointed out, Clinton, have put a bit of pressure on that. And he also referenced the Derby defeat and how much that hurt. And I like that, because I think he made sure that the club at least looked like they understood how much that hurt the fans.
Yeah.
How do you see this run-in going, Jack? Because as much as it's off the back of what looked like the most horrible run in football for Newcastle, you look at some of these games, and I don't want to be all negative Nelly, but you've got Palace away where they haven't won since COVID. You've got Brighton, who I think have beaten us 4 times in a row, and Danny Welbeck's on fire. You've got
Bournemouth,
who Eddie has not beaten in the league. Arsenal away.
We've got a good record with the Emirates.
Andy Carroll, 2027.
Was he beaten in the Carabao Cup?
So it's going to be a great run to the end of the season, isn't it, Jack?
No, it's difficult. Isn't it? Again, playing a lot of teams who we have poor records against, but they need to deliver. They need to deliver. They need to. This is what Eddie's best at as well. Monday to Friday, full week of training into those games. I think maybe people don't understand how big it is, to be honest, for the end of the season for this. It's huge. It's absolutely huge. They need, say, 4 wins probably from those 7 minimum, really, if they're going to have any chance of getting into European football. And they're all games that I think we've got a chance in, but equally they're the games that we have lost this season.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's the problem.
I'm saying I predict us to get at least 13 points.
Do you?
13 points from these last 7 games. And this is what it's down to. Like, this is why he gets paid the big bucks. He's not here on a voluntary basis. He's paid a handsome sum to do this, and otherwise he's out the door, I think. So 13 points is needed to get us some sort of form of European football. I'm not saying it's Champions League football, but some sort of European football. Otherwise, sorry, you might have to head out with Trippier.
Voltemada stays.
Yeah.
Gents, thank you very much indeed, as always. That's all from us today. Thanks so much for joining us, and thanks to Jack and Clinton. Join us again next week as we get back into the swing of things. Remember to like and subscribe to our talkSPORT Newcastle YouTube channel, and listen to us anywhere you get your podcasts. Just search Inside the Toon. This show is sponsored by BetMGM. Download the app or visit betmgm.co.uk. 18+, gambleaware.org. Please gamble responsibly. Have a good one. Goodbye.